Hail to those who seek the magical cellar full of that blue stuff. Today we have a very special episode. And by special, I mean there is no spoiler-free section today. So just a warning. Usually we have a non-spoiler section to start things off, but today we did it a little different. And it is spoilers from the get-go, so keep that in mind as you continue to listen. And now, on to the shameless pandering.
Good morning, children. It's 2:30 a.m., and we're recording the podcast right now. Because my ass just got off work, and I get paid $15.77 an hour.
Damn.
It's a brutal existence, kids. And they don't let me get tips for 5 days. So it means I'm working as a slave monkey for the next, well, one more day. But nonetheless, kids, it's given me a perspective here that we get no money from this fucking podcast, okay? So we need to work on three things here, all right? We need to work on ads, sponsors, and you, the viewers, leaving comments, talking, telling us what we need to do to squeeze the $5 out of your pocket, okay? And I'm talking real squeeze, okay? I want every last penny. And yeah, if I don't, I mean, I'm probably just gonna snap.
Don't say that, but people aren't going to donate just to see you snap.
But in all seriousness, life's hard. And this does take time, more time from Two Spirit over there, okay? He puts in editing work. I don't know how many minutes, but there are minutes involved with the editing. And I don't do that, but it sounds hard. Okay. And don't you think he deserves a little something for that? Okay. Listen, kids, you go on Tim Dillon's podcast, right? You give that guy what if his Patreon? Fucking, it's $5 or $25 or $5 or $50.
Like 7 houses across the United States.
He owns
now. He
7
used to live
houses,
in a van.
kids. I don't own one. Okay. Just help me out, guys. All right. just lift us up. Let the flood waters. Or what's the quote? the tides rise all boats, or something like that. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. Anyways, donate at what's our website? Go to our Twitter and harass us, and I'll respond, and hopefully you'll give us some money for that.
We really
As you
should
can
get a website, actually. That's a good idea.
I have no idea how any of this works.
You hear this on the radio, right? That's how you listen to that.
Yeah.
Put on your big Hollywood sunglasses and light the torch, because it's cellar time. Welcome to the Crack Cellar, as the prophecy was once foretold. I'm Two-Spirit Penguin Daniel.
And I forgot what we were reviewing. Broadcaster Nickels.
And what we're reviewing is the television show based on a novel called Fire and Blood. It's a very based novel by George R.R. Martin.
Giga Chad.
The man that is still TM working on Winds of Winter.
Piece of shit.
But yeah, Fire and Blood is about the Targaryens, the golden age of the Targaryens, when they had the Iron Throne, and the Lannisters were still a little punk-ass village out in the woods. And It's interesting because I remember I've never read Fire and Blood, but I almost read it, and I remember reading sort of about it and just kind of
Well,
synopsises to see if I wanted
it's
to read it.
newer, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think it is
Yeah,
newer.
because I didn't even know this book existed till like a year ago.
It's a weird book because it's like apparently it's based on like there's this blog on the internet that blogs about George R. R. Martin's books, and like they do like world building cataloging type shit. Like they keep an archive of like all the lore from all of his books. And
So terrifying for a writer, probably.
yeah, well, I mean, not for George R. R. Martin. He was really impressed with their work, and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna write a book based on your blog." Basically, they came up with theories on some stuff that they like couldn't fill out. You know what I mean? Like, so like they would theorize what happened in the past that led to this moment in the book, and based off of all those theories, he wrote Fire and Blood. Now, Fire and Blood, yeah, it's a real wild story. You go look it up sometime if you're interested. It's really weird, and those people are credited in the House of the Dragon credits too. Those bloggers or
So, I mean, not to get too far ahead of ourselves here, because we're going to review it. And maybe whatever I'm about to say, you can cut into the spoiler section or whatever. But I just read something online about a certain character, a certain Targaryen character, being maybe the Night King. And it was this huge all speculation assumption article. But the way they were talking about it and people were talking about it, it seemed like they really thought it out. Are you saying George R. R. Martin is... Are you like?
Well,
are you saying like the probability of what they were saying just went incredibly up? Now that you just told me this whole book was based on a fucking Reddit article.
Not a Reddit. No. This is not a simple Reddit article, dude. Like these two have like one of the most complicated, complex compendium of information on a novelist's world ever. Like I haven't seen the blog, but I've read about it and I've like heard descriptions of it, and it's like prolific. It's not just some Reddit page. But that being said, what you just said, I'm glad that you didn't name any names, even though now my mind is doing the calculus and I'm probably thinking I know who it is.
You know who it is. Yeah.
It's probably true. I hope. God damn it.
Man.
I don't like that, but
that makes me so bummed out because I was reading that article just thinking this is fucking hogwash. I clicked on it knowing it was hogwash. I'm not mad that I clicked on it, and now you told me that little key to the fucking lock, and now I'm like, oh, it is true. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, maybe it's true. I don't know who they said. I don't want to know, but I'll say right now that it's possible it is still hogwash. But also possible it's true, so we'll just leave it at that.
For all the listeners, all the kiddies, hogwash is the bits at the end of the swill you drink out of your cup.
All right, broadcaster. Anyway, what I was trying to say before your revelation is that I don't remember now. God damn it. Broadcaster, you've torpedoed the podcast.
Well, you were talking about how the book Fire and Blood was based on.
All I can think about is the character I know who you're talking about. That's the fucking Night King now. God damn it!
Yeah, you know it. I just want to take. We'll keep going.
Well,
keep recording. I'm just gonna say, you know who I'm talking about. I'm not gonna name names. Think about his mannerisms throughout the whole series.
Dude, as soon as you said it, my brain just like instantly went into like fucking research mode automatically.
Yep, yeah.
Just can't put the face in my brain. I'm like, fuck.
Yep.
But anyway, here's the thing. House of the Dragon Season 1 did not finish the book. There's another season coming out, and it is also going to be based on the book. This, I believe, is the halfway point of the book. So if House of the Dragon is really based on Fire and Blood, then the second season is going to be the last, I believe. Otherwise, they're going to have to start making
Good.
shit up
No.
something. I don't know.
You know, I don't know what the real situation. I don't know if anyone ever will know the real situation with the final season of Game of Thrones. Like whether Martin didn't give him any material to work with, whether they were like, no, we don't like the material he gave us, so we tried to go in a different direction. At the end of the day, the whole Winter is Coming and Night King storyline did not get finished. And we don't know if that was the writers or Martin's thing, you know? So I swear, man, if what you're saying is accurate and the second season should wrap up the book, there's no fucking way they should go past that. They're trying to damage control what season 9 of Game of Thrones did. Okay? You can't play with that shit.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to keep going, because George, he's making more books, so it's like you obviously want to keep going with this IP.
Yeah, well, I will definitely say that the final season of Game of Thrones was I think it was total make-believe. I liked a lot of it. Even a lot of people like really talk shit about the entire final season. I'll be honest with you, I only disliked the final episode. If you just take the final episode out completely and you redo it and you changed the fucking wheelchair kid becoming the fucking king, which I believe is the dumbest outcome that show could have possibly fucking had. Yeah. Literally the worst option for an ending. Fucking Bran Stark, who literally said multiple times throughout the show that he didn't want to be king and had no interest in any of that shit. Then one random episode, he's like, I guess I'll be king now. Okay. Fuck you. Get the fuck out of here. That's bullshit. But other than that, like, I really like that episode with the Night King attacking Winterfell.
That's the best fucking episode of all time, dude.
When I
that's
think
like
of that
red.
episode,
that's Red Wedding status. Like, dude, that's like some of the greatest episodes
for sure. And that's like why when I hear people just discount the entire final season, I look at them as posers because dude, I don't think they're being intellectually honest.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just gonna say it, dude. When Melisandre goes out in the battlefield and uses her fucking sorcery to anoint all those fuckers' blades, was one of the coolest fucking things I've seen in fucking fantasy, dude. That was cool as fuck.
Yeah, there was some real fire in the final season. It was not a bad season. It had a bad ending. Okay.
Yeah,
no it had doubt. A bad fucking ending.
I don't think anyone's arguing that. Even the most layman viewers fucking felt the deceit on that one.
Yeah. But anyway, back to House of the Dragon. So Fire and Blood is basically about the Targaryen, like the prime of the Targaryens, and the fact that they were sort of like depraved. Like, it's like the height of their it's like the fall of Rome, but with Targaryens, is what it was supposed to be when it was described to me. And I was a little surprised because season 1 didn't show a lot of that. Like, there was definitely some depravity, don't get me wrong. There's one specific episode where our boy, Daemon Targaryen, takes his niece out onto the town and does some very questionable things with her.
Let's be honest, this is pretty proper form for the IP.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
We know where the Lannisters learned it from now, for sure. But it wasn't as depraved as I expected. Like, I was really expecting like way more just really fucked up shit from the Targaryens, but for the most part, the Targaryens are portrayed very honorably in this show. For the most part. Not completely, but
it is a kind of a weird portrayal because you're supposed to be seeing like this regal form, the most regal political form of the Targaryens that ever existed, you know, because all the other Targaryens before that were like champions and dragon rider, like hundreds of dragons, like destroy, fucking taking the land as they please. They came from, what was the land they came from? Valeria,
Yeah.
right? So like they're known for pretty much bringing doom onto Valeria because of their own ambition, essentially. So like that's why when you see Viserys, the peaceful, like I think the whole peaceful thing is very meaningful. Like he is one of the very few Targaryens. It was like, guys, if we're gonna live and go to this other land, we got to do things differently, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So so it is an interesting. That's how I always saw them, right? So like when House of Dragon happened, you kind of get that, but at the same time, you kind of just they just always seem to be like that. Like when well, let me re-say that. The writers have chosen to portray the Targaryens as like these people that have always been family fucking and kind of crazy. Like that, it isn't just like this new thing. Because when, I mean, I was laughing because me and Stormy saw the scene together. What was it? Whoever was talking to Viserys, they were like, well, you kids, your fucking uncle's fucking your daughter, and he's just like, they have the blood of the dragon in them. They're chaotic. So it's like, say what? What? Hold up. What did you said that like you've done a little family fucking?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Viserys. First of all, just to take a step back from the hot incest talk, Viserys, I think, was just a great character in the show overall.
Absolutely.
His
actor did a great job.
So there's multiple time skips in a 10-episode season, which is one of the craziest things about this show. There's the first 3 episodes, I want to say, are when Viserys is, at his most youthful. He's like kind of like in his mid-40s or whatever. And Rhaenyra was like a 15-year-old girl, 15, 16, whatever.
Yeah, let's not talk about it.
Then there's a time skip about, I want to say 7 years, 8 years. And then there's another time skip of like another 8 years. So like it goes in like these weird like 8-year chunks every 3 or so episodes. And the actors change a bunch of times. Like there's each character in the show, with a few exceptions, has multiple actors portraying them. Viserys and Daemon are 2 of the big, I mean, all the people that start as adults in the beginning basically never change actors, but there's like a bunch of kids that grow up and stuff. So it's pretty wild. Like there's a few characters that have 3 different actors that portray them in a 10-episode season of television. That's wild as fuck to me.
It is, and it's complicated. You got to take your hat off to the people that like coordinate that shit and like write it and like get the actors' likenesses to match up and shit like that.
Yeah, they did a pretty good job too, for the most part. I will say that I didn't like grown-up Rhaenyra that much. The actress that played her, I thought she kind of, towards the end, I started to grow on her a little bit. But like when they first did the time skip and she first grew up, I thought she was a little wooden and weird with the way she was portraying her. But
definitely compared to the actress that was her younger version.
Yeah, dude, the younger version, I think she's one of the best actresses or actors in the show, up there with the Daemon Targaryen actor. He carries this show, but
no doubt. Until Aemon shows up.
Oh, dude.
Aemon. I was talking to Alex because he was like an episode ahead of me or whatever. And I was like, Damon's a fucking guy, dude. Come on, he's stealing the show. And he's like, there's one more character that's gonna show up and he's gonna get usurped. I was like, okay. Aemon shows up.
Yeah. It's weird. Viserys really just like, so there's so much like in this, there's a lot of political intrigue, there's a lot of backstabbing and all the normal Game of Thrones stuff, but the thing that's wild to me about Viserys is that he just gave off this genuine impression. It's just like, guys, I just want to chill and like fucking eat some meat with my family and maybe shoot some fucking animals in the forest. Like, let's chill, guys. Like, let's quit.
We're kangs, dude. We're kangs. All right.
Like, he had this genuine like consideration that he just like wanted to chill. Like, he was so
one of the
sick of everyone's
what you're
bullshit.
referring to, dude. He's one of the real ones, bro.
Yeah. Where Daemon was like the true Targaryen. He's like the
he was, dude.
thirsting for, power and maybe the partnership of blood-related relatives. That type of stuff.
Him and Aemon are like what I think of like the pinnacle of Targaryen society. Mm-hmm. I'm like, those two, if they got their way, the Targaryens would be killing it right now.
Yeah. But there were really no bad actors in this show. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong if you can think of someone, but like I was kind of impressed by the sheer acting talent in this show.
Well, I mean, it's HBO.
It is.
It's
true, and Game of Thrones was the exact same way.
When's the last time HBO has seriously let you down in the acting department?
Watchmen?
Fuck, you got me there. I totally... my brain deleted that fucking series, dude.
Yeah, there's not too many examples.
Other than The Watchmen. Give me something else, because that one's too easy.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
For the most part, you're right.
Even like the next one I would think after that is True Detective Season 2.
Listen,
with Colin Farrell and Vince Vaughn. But even then,
American thespian.
Exactly, dude. And that was kind of the point I was going with. Like, in comparison to Watchmen, he is a fucking thespian.
Beginning
a cop. That fucking what was that goddamn character's origin? He escaped a lynching and fucking painted his face white so people thought he was white under the mask he was wearing. What the fuck? Like, what? Anyways, moving on.
Dude, as soon as fucking Matthew McConaughey started seeing signals from other planets, the end of season 1, they just lost their marbles.
Yeah. Now we know what Matthew McConaughey was really crying at at the end of that. What was that movie called? I forget.
Lincoln Lawyer? Which movie are you talking about?
Interstellar. Lincoln Lawyer?
I was gonna go with Dazed and Confused next, but
God damn it, dude. That was too funny. No, when he's crying, he's like seeing his whole life or whatever, or his daughter's video, I forget what it was, in Interstellar, and he's like crying as he's going into infinite time oblivion. It's quite a beautiful moment, to be honest, even though I can't quite remember what was going on. But that's what he was really crying about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the beginning of the show is interesting. It just comes down to Rhaenyra not being named the heir and sort of like her guilting her dad about it a little bit, to the point where the dad does name her the heir. And by dad, we're talking about Viserys. And then just a whole lot of sort of political intrigue in between. The Hightowers are introduced, and the Papa Hightower that is really like a poor man's Tywin Lannister. He's not nearly as badass as Tywin Lannister, but he's filling that role. And he sends his smoking hot 16-year-old daughter to go bang 45-year-old Viserys and become the new queen, which it's just like, on one hand,
it's a respectable move. I mean, I get it. It's a strong power play.
It's interesting though, because I don't want to say that she was doing it out of love, because her dad definitely was making her do it.
Yeah.
But there's this weird sort of like, as the show goes on, like you kind of believe that she really did love him and she really was doing it out of love and she was just like sort of acting like she was only doing it for her dad. What do you think about that? Because like Alicent Hightower is a really weird character in the show for me, especially like the transition, like where the kid version of her or teenage version of her compared to the grown-up version seems so wildly different that
Yeah.
it's hard for me sometimes to be like they're the same person.
Yeah. It's interesting you brought it up in the way you said it too, because from my perspective, what you're talking about is probably the only thing I really hate about the show. And from how you described it made me actually think about it a little bit more, because it actually makes her character sound a lot more complex. Like there's like the nebulous decisions that maybe are going over our heads or something like that. But in my opinion, I think Alicent Hightower is a plot device character. I feel like her train of logic is so weirdly cut that it only can be attributed to this is how the writer wants this to go. So she moves it along like that. Because she like it doesn't make sense to me. Like she just willingly starts talking to Viserys knowing her father wants her to start fucking her and become the queen.
Mm-hmm.
But in her own interactions in the series, it seems like she's actually genuinely interested in talking to Viserys.
It does.
And she's only uncomfortable when her father shows up to like not actually observe, but she knows he is observing. And then the time jump happens and she becomes the queen, and there's like this weird like almost like, when you betray your best friend, but you want to keep your best friend moment. And that's kind of what Alicent was doing with Rhaenyra. It's just like, dude, like you gotta like understand, like I didn't want to be queen, like my dad but she's not telling him all this or her this, but you can see it from the viewer's perspective that like she's actually like she doesn't know who she is, and she's trying to be a good person, but also serve her father, who's a piece of shit. So, and then it goes to the next time skip where fucking Aegon is grown up and they're doing this whole usurper moment. Or I don't want to get too far ahead, but that Alicent is confusing to me because she does some things that are totally contradictory to her other two forms. And it's sure you'd be like, people change or whatever, but in the same couple episodes where she's making decisions, like you can tell that she like when she, I really don't want to get into it because it's
no. Broadcaster Nickels, we've already talked about so many spoilers already. We're just gonna do this one different. It's gonna be an all spoiler episode. I'll put a warning at the beginning.
Okay,
so just go ahead and say what you want to say. We're in. So
yes, so like when Aegon's getting anointed or crowned king, Aegon turns around and pretty much acts like he's always been acting his whole life, like a piece of shit. And there's this look in Alicent's face like, oh my God, I just made my piece of shit son king.
Mm-hmm.
But you went through it. You meditated every single step. You knew exactly. In fact, you even made up the story about Viserys wanting Aegon to be king. You told everybody that. That was just your like wild little fucking.
Okay. Well, I'm going to disagree with you there a little bit.
Not the same Aegon. Not the same Aegon.
Right. I get no. I totally understand that. But Alicent,
and she knows that too.
Power, I don't know if she does.
I think she does. I think she does.
Okay, well, maybe she does. But we don't implicitly know that she does. She doesn't go around like flaunting her knowledge of fucking ancient Targaryen fucking history and shit. Right, and she might know. But let's just say he did say that to her, and me and you and the audience definitely knows he's talking about the OG Aegon. But she, maybe either A, she doesn't know the history that well, or B, Maybe she just genuinely believed he was talking about her Aegon, and she's a mother, so like her mother instincts are probably kicking in, like, oh, of course he's talking about our little boy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really necessarily think that's a lie per se. I think that it might be wishful thinking.
Maybe, but I feel like that side is totally just ruled out at that point, you know? Like there's so many years of Viserys clearly not wanting that Aegon. Clearly. It's established by so many different people. Like it's almost like it's a pressure point at some point to the character Alicent. Mm-hmm. So for her just to be like, I'm okay with it. Things are just going to, like, her character is, it's okay, essentially. And then when Viserys dies, she's just like, turns a coin flip. She's like, this is my chance. This is my chance to be a snake, and I'm going to do it. Maybe. And then it just seems so weird.
I don't think you're wrong per se. I just think that it's not ironclad. I think that's one of the
definitely not ironclad.
Why this show is good.
That's why it's great, for sure.
This is a great example of why this is a good show, because you can look at this scene and you can probably have 3 different opinions on this, and they're all legitimate, and you can't really say one is more legitimate than the other. So,
yeah. What is the symbol of the High Tower? That pentagram.
I don't know if that's the symbol of the High Tower. You're talking about when fucking Rhaenyra and Daemon show back up, and they're like,
and
"Why
everywhere.
Is there pagan shit everywhere? What the fuck's happening here?" Yeah.
No, isn't that the same? Isn't that the god of the Lord of Light?
I think so. I don't 100% know. I'll be honest. I'm not 100% sure on that. Like,
see, here's the thing too.
Culty, and it's
Alicent Hightower
shit.
Alicent Hightower not only is a redhead. Melisandre. That's
another episode.
We have to stay focused. I can't stay focused. Anyways, if you go back in the series, there's a maid, like one of her head maids, literally is a body double for Melisandre.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you noticed that. It's like her head maid that she has a couple lines in the series that she talks to. She looks just like, not exactly like her, but she's like a younger, different looking Melisandre. And then the Lord of, like, I'm not sure, I might be making this up in my head, but I thought that pentagram belonged to the Lord of Light. And then also, when Viserys died, that maid I'm talking about was the ones that lit the candles in the window. The 7 candles.
Oh, yeah, her. Okay.
Isn't that a Lord of Light reference? Am I making this up?
Oh, maybe. When that was happening, I thought that was just a signal that succession had happened or something like that, or that succession was happening.
I thought that was witchcraft afoot. I thought she was doing that in her own religion. Like she was just like a great person had died. She's like respecting him in her own way, you know.
Honestly,
because she's a servant of the light.
You may be absolutely correct. I'm not 100% sure. I took it a totally different way, but you could be right.
Yeah, I honestly, my mind started going with, I'm like, oh, is this like also kind of a side? A B-side story starting too with like how Melisandre's origins come about, you know? Maybe. I'm not sure.
We'll see. We get the second season is greenlit, so we're gonna get a.
I was right about my Final Fantasy VII remake preview. So
okay.
Stay tuned. Okay.
Calm down, broadcaster.
99.7% accurate.
Yeah. All right. So. Let's take a couple steps back to the first episode. First episode, a lot of shit happened. Viserys and his wife had a kid that was supposed to be his firstborn son and his, successor. And the son was saved by killing the mom in childbirth, when one of the most graphic scenes of childbirth ever. like
It's
in the
fucking
history of
crazy they
cinema.
were showing that.
This episode literally got my wife to stop watching the show, and she's a huge Game of Thrones fan. But when we watched
Yeah.
that first episode, she saw that, she is like, "Nope, I'm done." She
Yeah, because
stopped
Rachel
watching
went
it.
through it. She knows what it's about.
Well, she didn't go through that, but yeah, like
Yeah, she was close to it. You know, she was something relatively close to it.
But that's how like crazy that scene was. And the boy they end up saving, but then he died. Like I don't remember if they made it clear or not. Maybe I just missed it.
No, they did.
They did.
They did. Yeah, he there was they only when they went to the fire the what are those called? Why am I fire pyre funeral pyre maybe funeral pyre? Yeah.
Pyre.
When they went to that and they had the his wife there, then Viserys brought the baby up, wrapped up.
Right. No, I know that he died for sure. What I meant is, like, did they make it clear why he died? Because they saved him by killing the mom in childbirth, but then he dies, and I couldn't remember if they actually said why he died. It seemed kind of nebulous. Like, do you remember an explanation on that?
No, but it was like the first time the viewer was seeing. My interpretation of it is like in hindsight, after I've seen the whole series, is that was the first scene where you were kind of being told the Targaryens have a hard time having babies because they're so fierce and whatever trait is needed.
Their cousins and sisters.
We can speculate that here and there, but I kind of what it seemed like they were going with is that the Targaryens are such like a fierce gene, have such a fierce gene that like the mothers die a lot, like
that's a great story to cover up the incest part. I like that. It's a good strategy.
Because Rhaenyra fucked, Daemon and baby number one KO'd. So what happened? I mean, what happened, kids?
Yeah. Yep. And so the first episode ends with Daenerys banishing Daemon and naming Rhaenyra the heir. And that sets up the entire show. The whole first season is essentially about the very end of episode 1. The banishing of Daemon and the naming of Rhaenyra, and everything that happens the rest of the show revolves essentially around that decision. And I don't know about you, but I thought this was like one of the most well-crafted, like from a story, setting up a story for a season. This is like one of the most well-architected first episodes ever, for the way it just set up the next 9 episodes so perfectly.
For sure. Yeah, the architecture is really well done. There's the foreshadowing, like I don't even know what you really call it in the writers' perspective or whatever, but how they constructed the first episode, and it was pretty much the driving force of how everything else unfolds for the next 9 episodes it was really well written.
Yeah. There's also like some really explicit, almost brutal sex scenes early on with Daemon and his like whore from the whorehouse, who ends up becoming the White Worm at the end of the show. Another great,
dude.
Like what a great character arc she had. Like she
absolutely, dude.
Dude, like it's so crazy. I don't remember
she came up, dude.
I don't remember if it was episode 1 or episode 2, but like at one point they just straight up deadpan to a new scene, and it just shows Daemon pounding her from behind with no context, no setup, just like regular scene happens, fade to black, Daemon just pounding this bitch from behind out of nowhere. I thought it was pretty bold, like, because they got a lot of shit in Game of Thrones for some of the explicit sex scenes, but most of those were much more story driven, had a point of the plot, were set up, had more context. This one was just, it felt like Red Shoe Diaries from Cinemax, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and I thought it took balls. I have to say, like, there's probably a lot of people that are like, you shouldn't do that, and I'm glad they ignored them, because even though, like, I'm I'm kind of like neither here nor there on the scene itself. I like the fact that they did the scene just for the, you know what I mean? Like, I like that like was there. They're just like, fuck it, throw this in, fucking just like jackhammering. Like, this wasn't some like lovemaking scene. This was him just like jackhammering the whore at the brothel, dude. It was crazy. It's sort of crazy in retrospect. Like, you don't see any shows that show stuff like that. At least, outside of snuff films.
I don't know. Like, every once in a while, there's films that just come out of nowhere. I remember, what was that? Zach and Miri Make a Porno? That was like one of those Seth Green movies, right?
Seth Rogen, yeah.
Or Seth Rogen
Seth
movies.
Green's like, I wish I was in that movie.
Yeah. But I just remember watching that thing, like normal fucking early 2000s comedy. It's fucking hilarious shit. And out of nowhere, Jay Muniz. Is it Jay Muniz from Jay and Silent Bob?
Yeah,
he's just fucking a real porn star. And it's from a perspective, you're just like, I think his dick's in her right now. You're like, this is too close. So there are moments in time where it's like, all right, I get it.
They're out there, but they're rare. And I'm glad that the showrunners for House of Dragons had the kahunas to put a scene like that, especially early on. That plus the brutal birth giving scene, you can just feel the no fucks to give attitude from the showrunners early on. And that's what really grabbed me and kept me going. And man, does it pay off towards the middle? I don't know about you, because like, I thought the beginning of the show was good. It was okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't spectacular either. But when it gets to the middle, I'm just like, oh, I'm like back in like prime Game of Thrones mode, waiting for every episode with bated breath.
Dude, I was as soon as Damon went back to the fucking Isle or whatever that fucking place was called, and he just
with the wife
killed his wife without saying
such a brutal scene. I love that.
Without saying a goddamn word.
He just sits there in a black cloak, and she's like, "You cuck motherfucker," and he just keeps staring at her. That was, dude.
Let me kick you off your horse.
That scene was legendary. That was a legendary scene.
I knew you didn't have the balls to finish me. Just quietly picks up a rock.
Yeah.
Don't you worry.
Oh shit. So let's talk about like the big scene from the first time period, which is when Damon sneaks young Rhaenyra out of the castle for a night on the town, broadcaster. This is what really made the show where you're like, we're not in Kansas anymore. We're back in Westeros. When you see him take her out like that, you just know what's about to happen. Like, you don't have to know it. You can feel it. You know this fucking episode is going to end with sex or attempted sex. There's no other fucking possibility.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I also was kind of worried at the beginning of this moment because, like, when he picks her up and they're going through that alley at first, he gives her some of that alcohol. I was like, oh god, dude, they're gonna go down the date rape fucking storyline, aren't they? They're gonna like, he date raped his cousin, his niece, and I was really worried. I was like, this is gonna be gay as fuck, but it didn't turn out that way. That was my initial impression when I saw the alcohol pass. I was like, isn't she like fucking 16 or something like that? And he's supposed to be like 30 something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're related.
They are. Yeah. It's interesting, man, because you really look at this little set of episodes with this time period, and every single scene with Rhaenyra and Daemon, you can feel the sexual tension, and it is uncomfortable. Like, from the very beginning when they do like the duel where Daemon gets on a horse and does like the fucking A Knight's Tale duel thing, and and takes down the future consort of both Rhaenyra and fucking Alicent, the dude that tried to get Rhaenyra to like go on a boat to the desert with and renounce the crown, and she's like, "What, dude? Dude, get back in the barn. I'm the queen, bitch." Another great scene, by the way. I love that. Was such a weird, uncomfortable scene when they're on the boat. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
It's just like he's like has his whole life in front of his eyes. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go do this and that," and she just looks at him like, "Are you fucking stupid? Like, why would I do that?"
And then he ends up turning into a completely different prick.
Yeah.
It's so funny, his character flipping the way he does.
Yeah. So he's fucking Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra is like, "Fuck you," and then he starts fucking Alicent and said, "But before all that, he's the knight."
Allegedly. Allegedly.
He's
I don't
the
know if
knight that
dude,
gets.
you don't want to be fucking no chick that's fucking a dude with syphilis, dude. Like, that guy was ridden in syphilis sores, dude. You don't want to be tapping that.
Well, she knew his secret, so he kind of had to do whatever she said. And, you know, if your husband had syphilis sores and you had him, you know, guarding your bedroom, what do you think's going to happen? You're the queen. He does whatever you say. You know, we can put 2 and 2 together. I'm going to go ahead and do that. But anyway, he was the guy
Imagine
that
having
Damon...
second helpings on that.
He's the guy that Damon fucked up in episode 1 on the horse. And he then walks up and like does his little "I'm a knight" salute to Rhaenyra, curry her favor type shit. And that's the beginning. Like, you feel the sexual tension immediately, and you're just like, okay, here we go. And it just keeps building the entire fucking show until they start having kids. And
no,
wow.
Just one.
And that kid, you know, kind of meets a ill fate. And you know, Damon did not give 2 shits about that. He did not give a fuck about that.
Yeah, he really didn't. He really also, just to jump all the way to the end, he didn't seem to, like, as the scene was unfolding at the very end of the series, where I forget the kid's fucking name. Not Joffrey. What were our other 2 kids' names? The middle one that was heir to the fucking the place where the Valyrians were at. You know what I'm talking about. The serpent snake, his brother, like all those fucking the black fucking.
Are you
dragon
talking
riders,
about? Are you talking
Valyrians.
about Damon's kids with Lena Valerian?
No. I'm talking about Rhaenyra's kids with what's his name? That fucking other knight.
The bastard kids.
Yeah, the bastard kids. Remember at the very end, Daemon eats fucking Vagar eats with the dragon and one of those fucking sons. That kid.
Yeah.
When the fucking at the very end, when Damon's pretty much just like going in the room and like putting his hand on Rhaenyra's back, be like, "Listen, one of your kids just got fucking eaten by a giant fucking dragon." It didn't seem like it was that. He didn't care that much. He's like, "I know this is gonna make you mad, but I don't really care."
Yeah. You're talking about Lucerys.
Is that his name?
Yeah, Lucerys Valerian.
Okay.
He is the man who... Well...
It was interesting to see the dynamic between dragons, though, in that scene, because it was clear that both those dragons hated each other.
Yep.
And
you noticed
so,
that too, didn't you?
Yeah, and so it was like,
I was surprised by that because I thought all the dragons were on the same team.
No,
but they're not, dude. They don't like.
They don't like each other. Yeah, and that was just like, damn, dude. So it really makes you think about the relationship of dragons in general and the dragons and riders, and exactly how these Valyrians actually tame dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Because it, like, how do they breed all these dragons and have them in such bolstering numbers if fucking one dragon just breathes fire at the biggest fucking dragon in the universe, and then that fucking dragon just chomps it fucking down?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, okay, fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one thing I was afraid of.
Actually,
with
it's a
this.
she. Vagar's a she, I think.
I was afraid. It was called House of the Dragon, and I was just thinking, man, it's going to be one of these weird, ironic things where it's called House of the Dragon. There's going to be like no dragons. I'm very glad that was not the case. There was a huge emphasis on the dragons in this show, and I think it's a big part of what makes it good.
I think yes and no. I feel like there definitely was a lot more dragon action than Game of Thrones, especially considering 9 seasons of Game of Thrones to the 1 season of House of Dragons, relatively. But at the same time, I remember seeing this press junket with like all the actors, and they were all being asked this cookie cutter question, right? And it was just like, "What do you think the viewers are looking for the most in House of Dragon?" Blah blah blah, and they all say the same fucking thing. Oh, the dragons for sure, the dragons. And it just made me think that they were gonna. That just pumped me up to a point where I was like, this show is gonna have so much fucking dragons, you're almost gonna criticize it for not having any acting. But that wasn't the case at all.
Yeah.
Every scene there was dragons though. It was solid. Don't get me wrong. It was fucking awesome. There was a lot of good dragon action, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just tired of politics because of real world. So like when I just watch a show and there's a bunch of politics happening and I know there's dragons in the background, I'm just like, let's just get to the fucking dragons, guys. Let's just burn it all fucking down.
Yeah. So episode, what is it, 3 or 4? What did you think about let's just call it the Stepstones? So at a certain point in the first timeline, this big battle happens in the Stepstones, and it's with the Valerians. Like the Valerians are sort of like at war with this like dude who's like this crab feeder, and he like captures ships in their supply line and feeds them to crabs. What did you think about this whole thing? Because this was like one of the weirdest parts of the show to me, but I was oddly compelled by it. I don't know what it was, but just like these scenes, it reminded me of a horror movie. Like there's these scenes in like the dark and there's fires going on, and this dude with this weird mask is just like tying people to ropes and like having crabs eat them. It was just really bizarre.
What was his name? The Crag Walker?
I forget what they called him, man, but I think they called him the crab feeder. I think that was what they called him.
Crab feeder?
Yeah, okay. I think they called him the crab feeder.
Yeah, and it was on the steps.
Stepstones.
That was the Stepstones where they were fighting for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly, it was one of my favorite episodes. It was super cool. I didn't like how they abruptly just jumped to it though.
It was out of nowhere a little bit.
This is one of those things where you feel like it was rushed from the book. Mm-hmm. That there was a lot more well, clearly there was going to be a lot more detail in the book, but you see it and you can feel it. You know, you're like, this is cool, but I feel like we should, as a viewer, should know more before this is going down. But nonetheless, it was still awesome. The dragon, dude, Damon just coming down with the dragon and like just calling out the crab feeder and like it backfiring and losing all those men, and then Damon's just like, fuck this dude. I'm going in alone, dude.
That was I was about to say like the part where Damon just decided, fuck it, I'm going in by myself. That whole sequence was really fucking cool. Yeah, I loved everything about that. That was just
what sets Damon up, because before that you're like, Damon's kind of a piece of shit. But then as a man you're just like, Damon's pretty fucking cool in episode 3.
Yeah. That whole thing was weird and cool, and part of like the secret sauce, I think, that got me hooked. And because you kind of needed that, because when they first do the time skip, there's this weird compulsion that I had. I don't know if you had it or if other people that watched it had it, but like you get a time skip in like episode 5 or 4. I forget whenever it happens, you get this time skip and you're just like, I don't like I don't like this. I don't like these new actors. I want the old actors back. This is kind of weird. I'm just like, do I even like this show? I don't even know if I like this show now. I think that scene with the crab feeder with Damon, it really sort of like got its hooks into you to keep you around long enough for you to kind of get back into it after the time skip. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it was definitely a hook moment because the whole like most of the series is political. It's a political story.
Well, yeah,
it's a civil war.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, but it's pretty heavy in House of Dragons. You know, it's 10 episodes, and there's probably, like you pointed out earlier, it's probably only gonna have another season, and if that's what most of that second season is going to be about, their hook moments need to be meaty. They need to be meaty.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, the second season
with Game of Thrones, their political moments were actually kind of cool. You know, like the Red Wedding and seeing Tanis Baratheon, like always, like constantly trying to like take his seat on the throne. Like they had really cool political moments. I don't think the House of Dragons political moments were really that cool. You know.
Well, I think
maybe the very end when Aegon gets anointed or like crowned king. You know, that was kind of a cool political moment because you're just like, damn, they're just going to do the usurp right here, dude.
Dude, when I forget her name, but the cousin who married into the Valerians, when she breaks through the floor in her dragon and just stares at Aegon for like 30 seconds.
I could fuck you up right
now.
Oh
my God, that was so good. I'm just sitting there like, yes, this is
it's
what
also
I'm talking
fucking
about.
dumb. I'm not going to lie. It was also fucking dumb.
Well, I know she could have changed history. Right there.
I'm not going to start the war you need to start. Like, what kind of questions that you're going to fight for? Just end it right there.
Yeah, it's interesting that moment. She could have changed a lot of history in this, whatever you want to call the Game of Thrones universe. She could have changed so much if she just fucking ate Aegon right there with her dragon. But one political moment that, you know, bringing up the Red Wedding, I call the Black Wedding, is the episode right before the time skip when Rhaenyra marries her gay cousin or the gay Valerian kid. Remember?
Thenian?
I forget, but the thing that was crazy about it is that like the fucking the consort kid, he got super butthurt because the consort of the gay husband came over and was like, I know your secret and you know, you're going to know mine and we're going to have secrets together. So let's be friends. And then he just, and it's such a weird scene where you're just like, he's basically just letting you know that like you guys are all in on the same secret now and he's with you on it and he's not going to turn you in. But this guy reacts so crazy. He just beats him to death for bringing it up. And the end of this episode is them getting married with the corpse of that guy he beat to death on the ground in front of them. They didn't even bother to clean the corpse up. Like they're doing the vows of the marriage and it like the camera pans out and you just see the gore from this guy being beat to death at the fucking wedding banquet, just sitting in the fucking crap.
Yeah. You know what they're sending? Sending a message to the gays.
Oh,
watch out. Just kidding. It was pretty crazy though. I mean, his character in what's that guy's name? Sir Kristen?
Are you talking
Kristen
about
Cole?
The consort guy?
Yeah, Kristen Cole is, I'm pretty sure, is his name.
Yeah.
That guy's insane. He has the craziest fucking progression as a character in the whole series. Like he goes from 0 to 2,000 in fucking bizarre, 8 episodes.
Yeah. He has a crazy dude. A lot of characters have crazy character arcs in this show though. Like just think of Aemon's fucking character.
my boy Aemon, dude, my boy.
Like there's so many crazy characters.
Don't worry, mother. We may have sacrificed an eye, but we gained a dragon. That was cold son of a bitch, dude.
That was a great scene too. Fucking Man, oh man. Just like
Dude,
the poise of that motherfucker.
he steals Vagar, and then he comes back just fucking chest high, just walking the hallway, and that bitch is like, "That was my dragon." He's just like, "Well, I got to her first, bitch," and she dude, just screams at him, he punches that bitch down, and then like 3 other kids fucking attack him. He takes on like 5 kids or something like that, and then gets cut in the fucking eye.
Yeah,
fucking brutal, dude. That was one of my favorite scenes in the whole series. That kid fight. It was so funny.
It was good. It was really good. But like the scene where fucking Allison like literally wants to murder Rhaenyra in the middle of like this big ball with everyone there, like in front of the world, basically. She wants to stab, and she kind of tries to, kind of half-heartedly, gives her a scar, but doesn't kill her or even come close. But the poise of Aemond to just be like, "Mother, I got a dragon, they got an eye. I think it's a fair trade." I was just like, "God damn, son." Like that, you are wise beyond your years.
Dude. And then the timeline jump, dude, the guy he turns into,
dude,
that guy literally. If you looked up if there was a dictionary with pictures in it, and you looked up assassin, his picture would be right next to it. That boy looks like an assassin.
Yeah, he definitely. As soon as they do the second time skip, and you see him, you're just like, oh, he's gonna fuck some shit up. I don't know what he's gonna do, but this one-eyed motherfucker is gonna fuck some shit up by the end of the season, and fuck yeah, does he.
Dude, when he fucking clowns on the bastard children at the Viserys' last dinner.
Oh, that was... Dude, talk about another great political moment. That last dinner with Viserys. Dude, that was some expert writing with like the shit talking going around that table.
Dude. It was funny too, because all the shit talking going on, the only 2 genuine moments were the 2 people that literally were almost killed each other, which was fucking Allison and Rhaenyra. They were the only 2 that were like, "No, I want to be friends." Yeah, I want to be friends too. Everyone else is like, "Fuck that."
Yeah. Yep. Oh, man. So Viserys, when they first come back and see Viserys on the bed just melting into it, did you think like I did that they were poisoning him? Because they even kind of hint at it with Daemon. Like Daemon like looks at his cup of tea and like sniffs it, and he's like, and I'm just like, oh yeah,
milk of the poppy.
Well, they eventually they explain that it's like a fucking, to kill the pain or whatever he's going through, whatever. But did you not think that they might have been poisoning him?
I mean, if I was Viserys, I wish they'd be poisoning me. To be fucking for real.
Yeah. Yeah, they never really make clear what Viserys' disease is either, do they?
I think it's syphilis.
Is that? I think it's syphilis.
I'm pretty damn sure it's syphilis.
It might be. I don't feel like they ever tell you though, right?
No. I don't. I think maybe in the book they do.
Maybe.
But no, I don't think they ever at any point tell you what his disease is.
Yeah.
I thought honestly it was like the curse of the throne at first. But then I had to like go back and realize he had the disease before he got cut. And it was really just the syphilis that he had that made his finger fucking rot off when he got cut on the throne.
Yeah. Yeah, so Aegon is grown up and he's just like raping handmaidens and fucking
going to watch fucking poor children sharpen their teeth and murder each other too.
Dude,
Don't forget about that
some
one.
Baraka shit. Yeah,
yeah.
Fucking. This is where I kind of got lost with Allison a little bit. Like this, like you already kind of mentioned it, like where you think she goes dark side because she makes up the Aegon thing and starts the war. Basically, I agree with you there in spirit, but really, what got me with Allison was how she dealt with Aegon. So Aegon rapes a slave servant, whatever you want to call her. And Allison, like this fucking little snake in the grass, pretends like she's friends with the girl who he raped, but then she fucking murders this bitch in cold blood to cover it up.
Yep.
This was such a departure for her character, I thought. Like, it's crazy how Allison changes. Like, she just goes through some metamorphosis.
She's a flippant character.
Yeah. And this is I think really what cemented her as the bad guy, in my opinion. For a long time in the show, I wasn't sure if Allison was the bad guy or if Rhaenyra was the bad guy. And this part is what really cemented for me that Allison is the bad guy and we should be rooting for Rhaenyra. Because Rhaenyra's done some shady shit, don't get me wrong, but she's never done anything like that. Like, Allison starts to do some really shady things towards
no
the
doubt.
end of this show.
There's no doubt about it. But my main problem is that she does that, though. And then the writers have the nerve to try to give her some form of, like, regret when she sees Aegon taking the crown.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just preposterous to me. It doesn't make sense at all.
Shouldn't you feel regret for that fucking poor chick that you murdered because your son wanted to fuck her? Like,
or any of the moments leading up to after that,
mm-hmm.
is like,
yeah,
and a lot of time to think about it.
And something else is weird now that I think about it, is kind of going back a little bit. Remember when Allison was essentially Rhaenyra's best friend and like she had a totally different attitude towards her, and then she learns that she is fucking. She learns essentially that Rhaenyra is out there fucking and she isn't a virgin. And this fact makes her completely turn on Rhaenyra to the point where she's like a blood enemy. This confused me greatly. Because why the fuck does she care if Rhaenyra's out there fucking?
The fucking nerve.
Like,
first
it's so
of all.
weird.
You're trying to fuck her dad.
Yeah.
By the behest of your own fucking sleazy dad. Or not sleazy dad, but fucking ratty dad. Yeah. So it doesn't make, like, the hypocrisy is unreal.
It is. I just wanted to bring that up because we kind of glossed over.
Oh, you're not pure? Oh my God.
Allison is one of the weirdest characters in this entire show. She has some weird moments, some weird contrasting opinions and sort of outlooks and just character arcs that you're just like, you raise an eyebrow at. You're just like, who the fuck are you, woman?
Yeah, she's definitely, she's a confusing character to me.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, she names Aegon the successor after the second time skip, after the conversation we already talked about, and this is what really kicks into gear what I think the second season is going to be about, which is fucking war. And God, it's hard to not be hyped for the second season based on the way this shit ends. It just feels like it's set up to be fucking crazy. Because Aegon is king. Rhaenyra was named the successor. Rhaenyra has shit tons of support. Rhaenyra's son was just murdered by Aemond in the skies right as the show ends. Like, it's just like the most epic setup for a war that I could possibly think of.
No doubt. I'm stoked for it. I want to see Vhagar with more money. That's what I'm really hoping for. I'm hoping they see the success of the season.
You weren't impressed with the CG?
No, I was impressed with the CG. I wasn't impressed with the scale of Vhagar, because there was a bunch of scenes where they clearly were trying to show you that Vhagar is bigger than the screen, and I didn't like that. I was like, you guys should have enough money.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see more full on Vagar, like you saw at the very end, where Vagar comes out of the clouds and chomps that fucking no name pussy ass dragon. All right, like that was even so. It was so quick. It was the coolest moment with Vagar, other than obviously Aemon like mounting Vagar.
Yeah,
but like you did, like all those scenes, like if you get a full body shot of Vagar, it was from super far away, sleeping in low light or something like that, or it was close up with just the head, looking at you.
Yeah.
You didn't like, or what's Damon's ex-wife that died from childbirth or whatever. Like when she's writing it, you don't actually get to see the full scale of it most time. It's up super close to her, and they're doing this weird like motion blur thing in the background, to make it seem like the wings are way bigger than her, and I just thought it kind of looked cheap looking compared to like say scenes where Damon came down with his dragon to kill the crab feeder, like I thought those were way better looking. And Damon's dragon is super long, they clearly had to use budget to get that thing fully in the screen, like especially when it was like the scene where he was I don't know what the name of those islands are called, but whatever the Valyrians were at, when he's like arriving there on his dragon, and it's like its tail scraping the ocean, and then it kind of like ascends up a little bit. Like those scenes have to cost a lot of money.
Oh, definitely.
So it was weird to see Vagar treated, in my opinion, a little bit more poorly.
Well, I think Vagar's time in the spotlight hasn't come yet, and I think it's coming in season 2.
Vagar and Damon's dragon are coming.
Let's end this review just talking,
because we all know what's about to happen in season 2. Daemon versus Aemon, okay? And it's the pay-per-view match we've all been waiting for.
But before that, let's talk about the final episode of season 1. From the get-go, I had hype for this episode because I saw the title before I watched it, The Black Queen. And as soon as I saw that title, I was just like, file this under badass episode. I just knew it, like instantly. Like I just knew it. I was like, I would bet $50,000 that this is going to be an amazing episode, and fucking A, was I right. It starts off with fucking Rhaenyra going into premature labor and still birthing Damon's fucking incest baby, and another just brutal scene because she has all like these midwives and shit, right?
Yep.
And she sends them away. She's like, no, I'm gonna do it by myself. And you just see her freaking out by herself in this room, just like trying to do it. And she gives birth to the stillborn baby. Like, it is like one of the most disturbing, brutal, crazy scenes. And that is saying something, because in episode 1, as we previously discussed, that birth scene was fucking crazy too. So this show has in 10 episodes, has 2 of the most crazy, graphic birth scenes of all time in cinema.
Oh yeah, dude, it shows.
And
like
Damon's response was, I don't give a fuck about that. Let's go to war.
I don't give a fuck.
And Rhaenyra like sort of talks back to him a little bit, and Damon just chokes her. It's like, just starts choking her like, bitch, I took you to that brothel. What do you think I'll do next? It was, what a fucking crazy start to this episode. Fucking Sir Eric brings the crown, and Rhaenyra's declared queen after Aegon was already declared king. Like, you just have this crazy setup for this war, like this elaborate crowning for Rhaenyra. And, Aegon tries to, like, bribe her into accepting him as king by, like, saying, like, oh, your kids can be next in line or something. I forget exactly what the deal was, but it was pretty generous for her kids, not for her per se, but, like, her first male-born heir was going to be next in line or some shit. But Damon has having none of that shit. She was like thinking about taking the deal, and that's when Damon chokes her and is just like, bitch. And fucking Damon just is like immediately on the warpath, fucking getting more dragon riders, getting all the dragons together. Be like, bitch, we outnumber them on dragons 15-1. Let's go murder these bitches. Like this whole like war room setting, this whole scene of him planning the war was so awesome. Like you could just feel the energy. Like we have the dragons. Let's go. Then we get House Stark and House Baratheon swearing allegiance to the queen, the Black Queen. Princess
Which was,
Daenerys.
you knew that was coming, because we all know the Baratheons and the Starks are G's.
Yep. I love that. Like, that's like a nice little thing for the fucking Game of Thrones. I mean, everyone watching this is probably a Game of Thrones fan, so like whatever. But it's just cool, like seeing those two houses, just like, oh yeah, here we go.
Stannis Baratheon's like the Vince McMahon of Game of Thrones, dude. Okay.
Yes. That's right.
That guy comes out and he has the preposterous eyebrow raised, like, whoa. I'm not king? What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so man. So so Aegon offers this alliance, and then Rhaenyra isn't gonna do shit. Now we have the kid going to recruit. Which house was it? Which house was he going to recruit again? I forget.
I think he was actually going to go do Stark.
No, because they got the Starks, right? They swore.
I thought the two kids were doing the Stark and Baratheons. Those were the two scrolls they were giving. Or no, was it Lord Boros? Who's Lord Boros? That's who the kid that got fucking taken down is going to give a scroll to. Some Lord Boros.
Yeah. Okay, so I forget Oh, that is the Baratheons. Okay. So she sends her son to go recruit the Baratheons on Dragonback. Says, okay, show up on a dragon as our messenger. You're my blood. They're going to take this shit seriously. And our boy Aemond is there, staring at him. And he does his spiel. And yeah, Boros is like, nah, I'm not feeling this. You say no. You get the fuck out of here. And then Aemond comes and he's like, I want your eye now. It's like, dude, this is like one of the greatest endings to a finale ever. Like the dread of seeing him ride that dragon to this, like, it's like pouring down rain. It's like Camino from Star Wars. Like it's just pouring down rain. There's mist and fog everywhere. He lands his dragon. He's surrounded by enemies and he knows it. And he's just this little fucking 14-year-old kid or whatever the fuck he is. And he's just looking around like, fuck, shitting his pants. Goes in there. Fucking Aemon's like, give me your eye, motherfucker. And luckily or not, Boros is like, no, not here. You won't attack him. He's a diplomat. Sit the fuck down, Aemond. And you're like, whew.
I wouldn't fuck with Aemond.
So Lucerys was probably just sweating bullets this entire time, just like shitting his pants, and he's like, fuck, thank God Boros isn't an asshole. Gets on his dragon and leaves. But the second he gets on that dragon, I'll bet you could feel it too. You just knew
sure. Yeah,
Aemond was in hot pursuit, man. And Aemond just shows up. And he just fucking, with Vagar, your favorite dragon just takes Lucerys out, and Eric's, and the dragon and Lucerys.
Yeah, see, this is one of the things where I'm quite interested with, because it seems like Aemon, like, definitely wanted, definitely wanted fucking to take an eye from Viserys or Lucerys or whatever. Lucerys? I don't know.
I think it's Lucerys.
Anyways, Lucerys. I think that was like a tit for tat, though. I think he just like wanted to do that. I think that was like a way of pumping. When he went in hot pursuit of him and shit like that, I don't think he had the intention of killing him. I think honestly that was more of a dragon on dragon thing.
Yeah, you could feel
because even Daemon, after he like did it, he was like, "Fuck." Well, like, that wasn't supposed to happen.
For those of you who watch The Walking Dead, I have always sort of held in contention that Negan was Negan, and that Lucille, his bat, the weapon he uses to kill everyone, was its own entity. Like, I almost feel like Lucille, his bat, was like the dragon, like Aemon's dragon Vhagar. Like, Negan's gonna fucking beat the fuck out of Glenn and kill him. But at the end, he's like, fuck, I didn't mean to go that far. And he just looks at that bat and he's like, you're possessed by demons, aren't you? I feel like that's sort of the same thing that happened here with Aemond and his dragon. I think that he like thought one thing was going to happen, and then Vhagar is just like, fuck no, we're murking these bitches. And then Aemon's just like, oh no. I didn't realize that I wasn't in control. Vhagar's in control.
Yeah. Dude, Vhagar is the queen of all dragons, dude. Like, she's top bitch in the dragon world.
Yeah, and you see like that stunned look on his Aemon's face, and it's pretty clear that he either didn't intend to kill, or he was stunned by the ramifications of what he just did and was sort of just smart enough to know, oh, dude, I just started like World War III.
Yeah.
One of the two. Yeah.
That definitely could be it, but I don't know. It definitely, like, them meeting up on the land that Baratheon's at might just be coincidence or whatever, but I don't know. It just seems too coincidental. It's just like they clearly wanted these two to meet and something to happen, but they're using the dragons as an excuse as it happened, But they clearly wanted to kill that motherfucker.
Yeah. And in an episode that was just amazing beginning to end, I loved the fuck out of the final scene where Rhaenyra is informed by some sort of messenger that Lucerys is dead. And they do this scene where she just freaks out a little bit and, does like the mom thing where her kid's dead. But then she like turns and stares. And that's when she's the Black Queen. And that's when the fucking season ends, with that look on her face. Like, she's like looking like, I'm about to send 500 dragons on you, motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, you just see that look on her face. And you're just like, oh my God, what did I just watch? And what am I about to watch in season 2?
The battle at the Great Bridge, dude.
All right, broadcaster. As you know, here in the Crack Cellar, we have a official patented Ghostbusters rating system that we use on all of our reviews, and this one's no different. What do you rate House of the Dragon Season 1?
I'm going to give it a pure Aryan boogeyman. Like the white driven snow hair they have.
You're giving it a master race boogeyman.
Yeah, master race boogeyman.
Oh shit.
It's really well done, and you can't like. I think it really surprised me too because like Rings of Power came out around the same time, and Rings of Power was such a dog shit that I feel kind of bad that House of Dragons even had to come out around it because it like almost brought it down by proxy.
Well, the entire
like a little
media
bit.
apparatus was like trying to prop up Rings of Power while trying to diminish House of the Dragon at the same time. So it did feel a little weird in that way.
Yeah, and House of Dragons is leagues above Rings of Power. Leagues. I wish House of Dragons had the budget
Yeah.
Power had. That'd been awesome.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna get that in season 2.
Yeah, I do too. And I love Game of Thrones, and I don't mean this in a way as like talking shit, but I think more happens in one season of House of the Dragon that happened in multiple seasons of Game of Thrones. Like, I love Game of Thrones, but so much shit happens in House of Dragons in 10 episodes that you almost like need like time to absorb it all. Like, you go into retrograde or something, you're like staring at the stars like, what the fuck did I just watch? So much fucking shit just happened.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, obviously with the time skips and stuff like that, they clearly like were about giving you hearty spoonfuls, you know.
There was no fucking filler in that show.
Yeah.
Like, there was absolutely no fat on the bone. It was all meat.
Negator.
And for that reason, I'm going to give it a multi-culty boogeyman to counter your best.
Multi-culty?
Yeah, because the Valerians.
Multicultural?
The Valerians were black.
Yeah, it's something we didn't talk about too much.
You know, in honor of the Black Valerians, which, by the way, are not canon and is totally a thing they did for the show, and like,
really?
Yes, 100%. The Targaryens are supposed to be albinos, like they're not black. So whatever. I'm not going to.
You gotta be fucking kidding me
I'm just
now.
I'm just saying, in honor of their decision to make the Valerians, House Valeria, of the black variety, I'm gonna give this a multi-culty boogeyman. You know, just imagine if Boogeyman looked a little bit more like Michael Jackson.
Back my Boogeyman, kids.
Hee hee.
That's crazy. They fucking blackified albinos.
They did. They did.
What?
I really don't mind it that much though. Like, I honestly don't. Like, there's some times where they do this shit where it bothers the fuck out of me, and this, it didn't really. It's a fantasy show. It's like high fantasy sort adjacent.
What was the albino that could harness lightning in that movie? Not K-Pax with Kevin Spacey, but the one before that.
K-Pax? How did we get to K-Pax?
Because K-Pax was pretty much like an they clearly were taking from the movie I'm trying to talk about. You remember what I'm talking about? It's like some white albino, it's like, you know, some guy, like some whole like religious, like he's a angel, you know, like God touched him, you know.
And with that, we'll close out.
and he can harness lightning or something.
You're talking about Phenomenon with fucking John Travolta, dude. I think that's what you're talking about.
No. Hold on a second. Maybe I'm from a different timeline.
You might have crossed world lines.
I'm just gonna type in albino movie to search it real quick.
Yeah, that should work.
Powder. Yeah, dude, and I am right. I'm totally there, dude. An off-the-charts genius who is homeschooled and shunned after his last relative dies shows the unconscious residents of his town about connection awareness and the generosity of the spirit. Well,
oh shit, I've seen this movie.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, Jeff Goldblum, Sean Patrick Flannery. Yeah, I remember this shit.
Dude.
Fucking Mary Steenburgen. Oh, man.
That's what I'm talking about. and he could harness lightning or something.
Dude, how did you pull this out? Oh my god, I can't believe you pulled this out of your brain. Dude, I forgot about this movie completely.
It's a classic, dude.
And that brings me to my next point, kids. Don't do crack.